Hello, welcome everybody. Hope you're enjoying WorkflowCon 2025. My name is Stephen Moos. As it says, I am the founder and owner of Moos Tax and Accounting. Um, Maybe a little misleading. It's just me. I have one part-time employee, but for the most part, it's just me. I recently acquired the practice from a retiring CPA in my neighborhood, and I've been doing it for about a year. Financial Sense has been huge in helping me keep track of my projects, and I am super grateful for Financial Sense to inviting me to present my 1040 workflow for you today. So I figured what I'll do is I'll start with a quick poll just to kind of get an idea of who I'm talking to, and it's just going to be, are you a current Financial Sense user? Oh, this is cool. Live answers. Okay. Half and half. No. Oh, live results are fun. Okay. There's a lot of you here. 153, 4. Still coming in. Okay. I'll give you just a few more seconds. Looks like it's starting to taper off. Okay, great. So 42%, 43% yes, 40 or 57% no. I think that's great. We got about half and half. So for the Financial Sense users out there, I'm sure you can relate how great of a product it is. The non-financial sense users, I hope to show you how great of a product it is. So I'm going to start by just jumping right into the template. Okay. So this is a simple 1040 tax return workflow. My practice is almost 100% tax return preparation. I do some consulting, a little bit of accounting, but mostly tax preparation. And 1040s are about two-thirds of the returns that I file. And a lot of those returns are for business owners that I also do maybe an S Corp or a partnership tax return for as well. Again, 1040 is what I do the most. So I think this template is probably the most robust that I have. So I decided to share it. And as you can see up here in the description, anybody who prepares tax returns knows that it's a constant back and forth. We ask the client information, they provide information. Maybe they don't provide all of it or the wrong information. So we have a follow up. Once we, and the whole time we're in the background preparing the return, once we get all the information for the return, then we usually will go back to the client and communicate results. I do a little sanity check, especially for clients who owe a lot or have a big refund. I just ask them, were you expecting this? Does this feel right to you? So there's again always that back and forth. Then I process it. I send it to them for signatures. They sign it and send it back. So back and forth, kind of the whole way. So I designed this template to illustrate that and really keep track of whose court the ball is in, as I say there. So I think a lot of us would start sending out the engagement letter. That's step number one. I send it out in Financial Sense. I use the e-sign option through Adobe Sign. So once I'm done sending out the engagement letter, I'll check this, shoot off a notification to the client. Automatic reminders are so great in Financial Sense. I also use tags quite a bit, and I can show you, this is the template in the library, so it may not show all of the automations that I have, but we can talk about some of those as we go through. But as soon as you send that notification for the client task, the waiting for info or waiting on client tag will pop up. And I like that one because that makes me know that the ball is not in my court. I am waiting on the client, and I use that as a red light. I don't put that up there when I'm just waiting for something that I can keep working. That is, I need to stop because I cannot go further until the client sends me the information. Like the engagement letter, I'm not going to start my work until I get that engagement letter. This might seem a little backwards, sending out the engagement letter and then doing year-end planning. This is very personal to me, and I want to say that before we go too far. This template was designed by me. This is what I call the Stephen Moos method. It might work for you, it might not. Um, and hopefully you can take something from it and make it your own. I just noticed that I wasn't watching my dashboard here. I'm going to take a look at questions real quick. Okay, there's some good ones here. I will come back quickly. Natalie, how can I answer this? Do you have separate templates for business returns? Yes, I do. The process for business returns is similar, but different enough that I do need to have a separate template for that. What platforms does Financial Sense integrate with? We'll come back to some of those: scale plan and team plans. Do you utilize the chat and portal inside FC? It's not baked into the workflow necessarily. There's no step that says, uh, I guess I take that back. Towards the end, I do use the portal to upload the client copy of the return and send them the 8879 for e-signature. So I am using that feature. And then they can also upload, that's how they upload all of their files as well, through client tasks. They'll upload any missing information that I might need. Okay. All right, I see some other good questions here. I'll kind of come back to those in just a minute. But going back to the template and the Stephen Moos method, this year, it's actually November 12th, I plan on having my engagement letters sent out, hopefully by the end of this week, early next week at the latest, to get those conversations started. That way I can kind of budget my time going into the year. How many clients are coming back? Did any clients decide not to move forward with me? I'm going to stop onboarding new clients probably in probably early December, so that when January hits, I've kind of got my workload locked in. So once they sign that engagement letter and they say, yes, Stephen, I will work with you again this year, then we reach out, contact them about year-end tax planning. We have enough time to evaluate that Q4 estimated tax payment in January. And then whoever asked a question about business returns, this ties in. Evaluate the need to issue a year-end bonus for additional withholding. Different things can happen, and we can set up estimated payments the best we can. But we may want to skip that fourth quarter payment and do a year-end bonus through payroll. Maybe the client forgot to make a couple early estimated payments. And hopefully we all know that withholding is considered timely. So you can cut that paycheck on December 31st with all the withholding you need for the year and be totally on time. And then, of course, once we evaluate all that, just provide the instructions to the client. So next step after that, this is in early January, I'm sending out the tax organizer. I have a separate platform that I use for tax organizers. So this client task has a PDF file attached to it that has the login information for the client that they can log into the other platform and complete their electronic organizer. Again, I want to go back to the back and forth nature. Once I send that out to the client to complete the organizer, ball is in their court. I'm not going to do anything. I can't do anything until I get that organizer back. And I'm setting up automatic notifications so that client's getting pinged periodically until they come in and check that task off. Once they complete that, I'm going to pop over the questions real quick. I think there's some activity in here. Okay, I think I'll come back to some of those. Client communication is so important. And this last year, again, my first year taking over for the retired CPA, he was incredibly communicative with his clients, and I strive to be as well. But it's challenging, and I would have clients email me and say, hey, I sent you the information, but I didn't get a confirmation that you received it. So I baked this into my workflow. Once I get that organizer back, I can check off this task to notify the client that the organizer was received. Great thing about Financial Sense, in the scale plan, you can add an automation to this task that as soon as you check it off, You don't even have to send the email. Just check this off. The system will fire off a templated email for you, which can be super helpful. I update the project start date at that point. I like to have kind of a start and finish. As soon as the client gets their organizer in, that's when the clock starts running. So I just update the start date in Financial Sense. And then I can go back later and see the start date and then the date that that project was closed to know how long that project was sitting in my office. Next thing, of course, then I review the initial client upload and send open item list. 99% of the time there is an open item list, so that's already baked into the template here. And these are just, add questions and open items here. It's going to be a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So there's no real template other than no template questions, just a section to remind you to send them. I learned this from another Financial Sense user that it's okay to put tasks in a project that you won't always do. And I want to jump down here. I don't think I updated this one, but I will share a tip with you. This is the extend task or the extend group of tasks. Totally optional. I get a lot of returns done before April 15th. So this would not even be completed, but it is here to make sure I don't forget to do it or to mark that I have done it. There was a question early on about using Financial Sense. Oh, I lost it. There was a question about how do I use Financial Sense to make sure that I don't miss deductions or things like that and kind of do a check on the return. I don't use Financial Sense for that specifically. I have a couple of external checklists that I go through. And I do that because to me, a checklist needs to be kind of the right length. When it's too short, things get missed. When it's too long, I fear that things will get checked off without actually being given the attention they deserve. So I'll have, review tax return. I do have a couple of steps down here. Um, that kind of helps me break myself out of this checklist and move over to another fresh checklist, kind of just reinvigorating my attention to it. So that's why I don't put things like that in Financial Sense. But one thing, I live in Seattle, Washington. So the Washington state capital gains tax is a relatively new tax. And it's just one of those things that's pretty easy to forget. So, yes, if there's something that you're constantly forgetting that's incredibly important, maybe specific to your industry or your area, yes, I would absolutely encourage you to add a task in Financial Sense to help remember that. Um, I'll talk about now if you don't extend. I've seen some people at the very bottom. I don't have it in this template, but at the very bottom there may be a team tasks section, and I've kind of named all of mine. I think that helps me keep track a little bit better. But I've seen it team tasks dash did not complete. And the way I use that is anything in that, because you have to check off every team task to close the project. So if I have these extend tasks in here and I check them off to close the project, it's going to look like I did them. When I go back 2 years later, I'm going to see that I checked off extension and not find an extension. That's going to be really confusing. So what you can do to alleviate that is, again, make that team tasks did not complete section, and you can just drag and drop these tasks down into that did not complete and check them off. With ease. This section here, going back to prepare, or going back up on the template, prepare is the meat of the return. And no, I don't have a step-by-step on how to prepare the return. I think that's very personal. And if you work in a bigger firm, if you're managing a team, then yes, I think having some subtasks here, maybe some additional tasks for specifics on how you want the return prepared or specific processes that you want your staff to use. For me, 99% of the returns are prepared by me. I am not infallible, but I'm pretty consistent. I do the same thing over and over again because, again, it's just me. State returns, again, if applicable. If there's no state returns, I'll drag this down to the bottom in the did not complete section. Um, and then review returns. I do flush this one out a little bit better because what I find happens, just like preparing returns, you can be in the middle of preparing a return and get pulled aside. So it's kind of nice to know where you are. But I make that note in my work papers. When I'm reviewing the return, it's a little bit different for me. I use a tax planner app next to my tax preparation software and essentially double prepare the return. Again, since it's just me, I need something to make sure that I'm not miskeying. So by keying it twice, that alone will help me alleviate some of those errors. And then the planner software does calculate all of my taxes. And I spot check the big items. I say tick key amounts in tax. So key amounts are things like AGI, taxable income, total tax, payments. I'll tick those between my planner and my tax software. And if those big totals match, then I know, as well as I can know that I've, at least got the numbers in there correctly and prepared it as correctly as I can. Um, Clear or sign off all diagnostics. I think that's kind of a normal step that we should all take. Review the client letter. CPA that I worked with years and years ago said if the client doesn't read anything, they'll read your letter. So I make sure the letter is as clear as I can make it, as thorough. And I also use a lot of highlighting in my letter to highlight the key instructions that the client needs to take. And then, as much as we want to feel like dynamic people who are constantly moving and shaking, year to year tax returns don't change that much. So I find it incredibly helpful I've got a big monitor here in front of me. I pull up the current year return on one side, the prior year return on the other, and I literally walk page by page, um, checking for, answers to questions. Is there a number on this line this year that it wasn't there last year? Was it there last year? That's not this year, and so on. And once I get to that point, there may be something that got overlooked, some question. I'll admit, the one I forget the most is asking about 1099s for Schedule E rentals. There's a question in my organizer, but I don't like the way it's worded because it confuses clients constantly. And it's one that I'll forget to go back. So I can have the return 99.9% complete, but I need to clarify that 1099 question. So I've got to wrap up questions and open items. I'll add those here, fire those back off to the client. Then once I've got those wrap up questions and everything looks nice, I will then review the final product with the client. I mentioned that at the beginning. That's really for a sanity check. If I've been doing my job, I've been working with the clients throughout the year. They have a pretty good idea of what their tax liability is going to be. They also have a pretty good feeling, hopefully, that we've paid estimated taxes enough to cover them so they don't have a surprise bill. But I still show them the return to say, is this what you expected? And if the answer is no, then we take a look. We'll go a little more in detail. Assemble and deliver the return. I've got some specific steps in here, and this is because the ordering is very important. There was a question that says, which tax software do I use? I personally use CCH Access. And these two steps here, I would imagine, are pretty consistent from software to software. If I print the return before I've exported it, I get all these errors that say that it's not able to be e-filed. The 8879 has a big mark on it that says this is a non-fileable copy. So these are two specific steps that I have to take in that order. And the other steps, again, are just to make sure that I catch everything that needs to be done before I send it out. The next step here is what I talked about, using the portal. In this download, print, sign, scan, and return signature forms, it doesn't show the description here on the template. I might be able to pop over to my system here in just a second and show you some more detail. But I will attach the 8879 to this task. So it's very easy for them to find. And actually these are backwards. I like to put review client copy of your tax return first, and then the download, print, sign, scan, and return signature forms after, because that's the order that I want the clients to do it in. We've already looked at the return, but that was on screen at a high level. And I also want that affirmative yes, I reviewed the return check mark. Um, and the description here will say, go find the return in this specific folder in the documents section of your portal. So I don't attach the return here. I keep that in their portal so all the returns are together. The 8879 I put in the task here because it's in the client copy of the return. So they've already been provided that copy. If they want a signed copy, they signed it, they can save it for themselves. And then I download that and save that to my files before I release the return. Then the next step here. Oh, and this, to be clear, this is for e-filed returns. I've got just a couple every year that end up needing to be paper filed in one way or the other, or for one reason or the other. So what I'll do here is I'll just change this task. And instead of submitting the e-file return and then waiting for the acceptance acknowledgement and then closing the task, I will change this to mail return to client for signature and filing, or potentially meet with client. So however I do that, I'll just edit this section. And then when I check that off that I've met with them and delivered it or mailed it to them, at that point, the project is closed and the responsibility is the client's to file the return. Okay, so I'm gonna take a quick check at the questions. Let's see if that worked. Okay, what do you use for tax organizer, Word doc, online form, or other? I mentioned I use CCH Access. Until recently, CCH Access had an online tax organizer that I was using. They have sunset that. So honestly, I'm scrambling a bit this year to come up with another alternative. What software do you use for your organizer? Do you utilize the chat and portal? I definitely do. I push clients, not push them, but I will nudge them towards the chat a lot. I actually like the chat a little better than email. So yeah, I do use that chat feature quite a lot. I'm a huge fan. I call it context specific conversations. And that's what you can do in the chat. You can open up multiple conversations on different topics, and then that's where that topic gets discussed. If I want to go back and check notes on that topic, I know exactly where to go. I don't have to read 2 years worth of chat thread just to find what I'm looking for. Do you use separate tax intake software or collect documents through FC, then manually input into tax software? I manually input at this point. Um, it's I am a huge fan of technology, and I like the kind of scan and fill features that are out there. Um, and I may get there. Currently, I don't, and that's kind of a byproduct of the practice that I acquired. It was all set up. I'm using the same software that the prior accountant was using, and using a lot of the same systems, and just trying to get my feet under me this last year. I'm happy to say it was a success. I think everything went great for my first year. Couldn't have asked for much more. And now I'm starting to make just slight tweaks to my process. And that scan and import is going to be one of them, hopefully in the near future. I think the question, is your workflow available to use in templates? Yes, it is. And I think I can see on the screen now, there's a little link in the bottom right-hand corner it should take you right to my template, or at least to the template library. How do we connect with you? I guess that's a good question. I want to come back to that, or maybe, there we go, Davida, thank you. Oops, back to the questions. What does the onboarding process look like? Why do you stop taking clients in December? Do you pre-schedule tax return appointments since you don't take any new clients during tax season? Those are great questions. Onboarding process, I'm going to have to defer on that one. Onboarding is so specific to you as a firm owner or employee. It's specific to the kind of work that you're doing. So I've actually been working with some other folks at Financial Sense, and we've been talking about onboarding workflows, and they are very challenging to develop. So great question, and I'm sorry I don't have a good answer for you. Let me face the camera a little bit more. Why do you stop taking clients in December? That's my schedule is pretty full. So I will take enough clients that I feel if I have capacity, which now I do have a little bit. So I'll take a few clients until I feel like that capacity is used up, and that's why I stopped taking clients. It's mostly to protect myself, and then secondarily to protect my clients. Um, if I don't want to get burned out, and if I get burned out and overwhelmed, my clients will suffer as well. So that's a big reason in just controlling my schedule. Um, Pre-scheduling tax return appointments. I tried doing a little bit of that the first year, and it was more challenging than I thought. The second year around, I do think I'm going to try to schedule some of that. I definitely can identify some clients who are on the ball, organized. They're turning that organizer around in a matter of days sometimes. So those are on the schedule for early in the season. Since they're so quick and organized, I can usually knock them out really quick. And as much of that as I can do as early as possible is going to be a huge benefit. Oh, thank you, Shannon. Yes, the tip about the did not complete section. It changed my whole perspective on those type of things. Um, how do you turn off the annoying emojis? Adam, I'm sorry you feel the emojis are annoying, but I appreciate the smiles and the celebrations. Um, what planner software do you use? Again, CCH. So it's an older software, CCH Pro FX Planner is what I use. I'm curious how long that's going to be around. If you've ever used it, it looks like it's still in the 1980s, but it works. So and they keep updating it. Around how many returns do you prep both individual and business each tax season? Uh, Total returns, I'm at about 225. Business returns, I want to say that is about close to 50. So some of the numbers I gave you earlier, now that I say that out loud, might not be true. I think I said about a third businesses. Maybe that's only about a quarter. Kaylee, does this integrate with tax software at all? Not that I'm aware of. I have not used a lot of the FC integrations yet, but I know at the scale plan you do get access to Zapier, or opens up Zapier Zaps. So there's, I mean, virtually limitless potential there, but I honestly have not explored it all that much. How do you set up your proposals to incorporate this year-round planning? Let's see. How do you set up your proposals to incorporate this year-round planning you offer? Oh, that's interesting, Erica. So that's a great question. Um, I'm trying to change the way I propose my service instead of just a tax preparation service. And it's also one of the reasons I want to send these engagement letters out in November. I want my engagement to be basically a year of me. You subscribe to my knowledge, my experience for a year. And you get all of these things during that year. It starts in November, goes basically from November 1st ish through October 31st. So, and in that year, you get the year end tax planning, you get the preparation in April, you get estimated payments there. And, some people want very specific estimated payments. Other people are okay with safe harbors. Um, and then let's say I finish your return in April. Well, you basically got me through the end of October. Any calls for questions, planning for the next year will come into play there. But then November, we start it and we do it all over again. So I'm trying to frame it again as not just tax prep, but you're subscribing to a year of me. Um, so again, very, very specific, very personal though. So take that and make it yours. And I got a note from Davita. We're going to run a second poll here. Ready when you are. The poll here is, do you want to see a personalized demo of Financial Sense? And I'm not sure, are we going to send that? Are we going to show live results? Okay. We'll go back to the Q&A here and look through, see if there's any that I can help you with. Sorry, is the portal part of FC? Yes. Even with the team plan, the portal is available. Oh, there's Davita. If any of you have had a chance to talk with Davita, you know as well as I do, she is great. So thank you for taking some of those. Poll is closing soon. 30 seconds to get in your responses. Beth, do you prefer print, sign, scan, and return 8879s rather than e-signatures? No, I do not. I do not like that process. That was kind of, again, a hangover from the prior owner. I don't know if I'll have e-signatures set up in time this year, but I'm going to try. And going forward, it's absolutely something I want. It is the number one request from my clients. It's not easy to print, sign, scan, and return documents. So I want to make it easier for my clients, and of course, it makes it easier for me as well. Do you do three-tiered proposals? Sometimes. That I would say is something that it's under development, but I like the menu pricing idea. I like that a lot, but I'm still testing the recipe. Let's say that. Do you set FC projects to recur? Why or why not? And if so, when do you change the project start date? Does that new start date carry over? Um, that is a good question, Nick. So this first year, I did not. I didn't have any of my projects roll over. And the reason for that was the template I was using during this last filing season, I knew wasn't going to be my forever template. So I didn't want to set up 225 projects to automatically roll over that I was just going to have to change anyway. So this year I didn't. And kind of like the proposals, I'm still feeling it out. I may not have them recur this year as well, just so that I get that second repetition with the template. And then going into year 3, I want to have a template that I feel comfortable with, that I can repeat over and over and over again. And then, yes, I will have those projects recur, because in my mind, that's something that is a risk for me. One of the reasons I use a workflow tool like Financial Sense is so that these projects do recur, because they're happening every year. And the worst thing that could happen is you prepare somebody's return one year and you forget to create their project next year. That's awful. That's a really bad look. So the auto recur, I highly encourage. Again, me personally, I didn't for the reasons I mentioned, but I will be. Would you be opening to sharing the tiers you offer and related pricing? I would be if I had that figured out. And pricing is really personal as well. It's regional. It's based on the type of work. I know we're talking about 1040, so I presume that's the topic we're talking about. But again, it's tough, and I don't have it dialed in. So at this point, I don't know if it's very valuable. Do you charge a monthly fee for your 1-year contract? With individuals, I don't intend to, but with businesses, I do. I think businesses have a different appetite for that kind of fee structure. Um, they want to budget their cash flow, and they want to know what it's going to cost. At this point, I still do hourly billing, again, holdover from the prior owner. But as I develop these proposals and solidify my pricing, I do want to start then offering fixed fee pricing. And for businesses, I will offer just a monthly recurring fee. James, how do you recommend balancing automation with the needs for professional judgment, especially in areas like tax review and compliance? Well, James, that's a great question too. We talked about the auto flow. I think is a product. I forget who makes that, but the concept of scanning in the tax documents, uploading them to some system that will recognize and then populate the return. That's great automation, but uh, one thing that I fear and I think is very dangerous is unchecked automation. Set it and forget it never works. Set it, let it run, come back and check on it. That's what can work. So I've hesitated a little bit for the auto flow type features because I can type pretty fast and pretty accurately. Sometimes, yes, there's a lot of documents, but looking at that document, that gives my brain the time to digest what information I'm looking at. If I let a machine read all the documents, put all the numbers in, sure, I can double check the numbers, but I feel like that pulls me out of the mindset that I need to be in to look past the numbers. We're at time. Oh my goodness. That was fast. So I'm gonna burn through and see if there's any questions, slides and resources we can download. I'm sorry I don't have anything like that. I think the template is really the meat of what I'm going through today. Do you find menu pricing inefficient? Don't, again, don't have enough experience really to talk about that. Remember, you can also bulk adjust recurring projects. Do not recur if you decide to change it later. George, thank you for pointing that out. And I have seen that feature. Um, but again, I started year one with a template that was, it was going to have to be completely rebuilt. So that's a really good point. Going into this tax year, I'll keep that in mind and maybe set them all to recur and just edit, tweaks here and there as I need to. Let's see. Do you set up your own flows based on your current practice, or are the flows predetermined? Sarah, I don't quite understand that question, but I'll make an assumption, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. Um, these workflows, so this 1040 tax return template, that's what I kind of consider a workflow. So what I do, my method, the Stephen Moos method, again, I love the template library. Creating from blank is one of the most difficult things. Creating is hard, editing is easier. So what I like to do when I was looking for my 1040 workflow is I went out to the Financial Sense template library and looked at half a dozen, maybe 8 or 10 um, 1040 templates. And I took the pieces that I felt would work for me and created my Frankenstein template. So it is specific to me. There are, I believe, some standard templates built into Financial Sense, and then there's always the template library, which is just a great resource. Do your clients have trouble with the FC portal? How do you assist them with that? Uh, some of my clients do, some of my clients don't. Um, since again, I love technology and I want my clients to, they don't have to love it, but I want them to know how to use it. I'm a big fan of screen sharing. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000,000. So I'll often get on the computer with them and have them show me what struggle they're encountering and help walk them through that. And in my experience, I do that one time. It's like teach a person to fish kind of thing. Well, I only usually have to do that one time, and then they've got it figured out. On the portal, though, one thing I've noticed, I like to control where clients can upload information. I've only got a couple folders and a couple subfolders, but there is only one of those folders that the client is allowed to upload files into. So I've had clients call me up and they say, I can't upload. So, okay, well, what folder are you trying to upload to? And it's always a folder they're not allowed to. So what I think I'm going to do is probably, well, what I'm doing this year is trying to develop a better communication plan and having a one-page portal guide or FC guide, not just document portal, but chat. I do use FC for payments, so that's another great feature that I like being in the portal. The clients can go to their portal, see their past invoices, pay, all that kind of stuff. Um, so I'm actually developing a one pager again, FC guide, hopefully to head off some of that. And I'm going to make a very prominent highlighted portion that says this is, the client uploads folder is the only folder you are allowed to upload into. So that's that's how I'll handle that. And I hope it'll work. Um, Let's see. First polls on the screen. Can you cover how polls need to be completed so people don't miss out on CPE? Darren, that is a great question. I'm going to have to defer to Davita to that. I don't see a response there. So Davita, if you could answer any of those questions about CPE, I would really appreciate it. Stephen, question, complexity. Yes, complexity is huge. CCH Access Tax has when you open up a individual tax return, there's a dashboard and there's a complexity section in there, which I've been looking at, I've been contemplating using for my tiered prices or my pricing. Sorry, the tiers won't really have much to do with complexity, but the pricing for each tier certainly will. So, complexity at this point, I'm looking at number of Schedule E's, number of Schedule C's, number of K1s, number of brokerage statements, number of W-2s. So in a way, it's kind of charged by form, but I can also see that that's not going to cover everything either, because one Schedule C can be just one sole proprietor doing their thing and super easy. I've seen Schedule C's where there's 100 employees being paid from a business on a Schedule C. So that is certainly a different animal. But complexity cannot be overlooked. I think that's the main takeaway there, and I think we all understand that. For business e-file, do you accept Form 8879 e-sign or manual sign? Again, last year, everything was manual signature. Going into next year, I hope to get as much as, I hope to have an e-signature feature available. I know all of my clients aren't going to use it, but I also know a lot of them will. And on that topic, just another tip, as much as you might not like it, and as much as I definitely didn't like it, I've had to give a handful of clients, I think I've got 12, which is way too much, that I have given the designation all paper. And that tells me a bunch of things. They need a paper copy of their tax return. I'm not going to upload it to the portal because they're not going to download it. I need to mail them a paper organizer. I need to make it easy for them to return that paper organizer to me. So, I mean, as you can see, it's blurry, but this is my home office. That's my resting couch behind me. So I don't have clients coming to my home. I don't display my home address. I have a virtual office that they can mail things to, drop off. So again, these all paper clients, I have to have some method for them to get it to me. And then the 8879, that has to be printed, and a return envelope with my address on it, paper clipped, and a sign here stamp. I have to make it so simple for them. But I will. That's what I'm here for, is I'm here to help these clients do something that can be difficult, complicated, and anxiety invoking, and make it calm and easy for them. Let's see. Does FC have a dashboard where you can drill down into clients that have open action items? Absolutely. I won't show you mine. I'd love to show you a tour of Financial Sense, but of course, it's packed with PII that I can't show here to this audience. But yes, it's a great tool. There's a projects dashboard, which will show you a list of all open projects with sorting, filtering, saved views. I utilized saved views quite a lot this last tax season. Basically, what you do is you set up a filter and save it as a view, and you can come back to that time and time again. And then each project, you open up a project, and that will show you all of the tasks. And again, I wish I could show you, but there is a client tasks report, and that'll show you all of the tasks that are currently sitting with the client. What are your payment terms for tax-only clients? All upfront, 50% upfront. At this point, I am billing and collecting post-work, which is not my favorite. This isn't a pricing seminar, but I'm sure you've taken in some of that content already. Hourly billing at the back end, I think, creates a lot of anxiety for both client and practitioner. I know it does for me. But but it's the way a lot of people are used to doing it. So again, that's how my predecessor did it. So I carried on that for the first year. And as I said before, I do want to start transitioning into an upfront fixed fee pricing. Um, at that point, I may offer a 50% upfront, 50% after. Before you send the returns for review, I do like that paywall. But again, I took over this client base from a CPA who didn't do anything like that. So I don't want to just turn their world upside down. So it's going to be a very gradual process for me to pick clients that have an appetite for that. Can you share the one page when you develop it? Yes, I guess I'm not sure. I'll coordinate with Davita on how I might be able to share some resources post conference. On workflow templates, do you use a standard workflow, then copy that to the rest, or do you customize it by client? As much as I possibly can, for the projects that I do the most of, they are going to be standard and consistent. Like I mentioned, there's going to be the paper filed returns that I have to edit on the back end, or I'm sorry, on the bottom of that workflow instead of e-filing and checking for acceptance. But by and large, they're going to be standard. I mentioned that I do a little bit of consulting as well. My consulting template is basically blank. There is a team section, and it just says add consulting items, and a client tasks section that says add information requests, because those are so free form and everyone is a bit different. So a little bit of both, to be fair. Would you walk through the return with each client how do you walk through the return with each client without an office? That's a little more client specific. I do a lot of video calls. So I'll show them the return on the screen. There are other clients who I guess are just maybe a little more tax savvy, and I can talk through the return with them and they can follow just by talking. So I'll do a phone call. And then there are a handful of clients that I do meet in the office. Delivery options, Loom video, line by line, Zoom, etc. I think I kind of answered that. I'll do a Zoom. Again, not line by line. I'll hit the soft points. We don't need to go through the entire return. And, if the client says, yep, that's about what I expected, I just hit the high points and don't dig too much deeper. Let's see, Stephen, you're asking again, Stanford Tax, Soroban, or other intake. I've evaluated Soroban. I think it seems like a solid product. I have not evaluated Stanford Tax, but I've also evaluated SafeSend 1. So the top two contenders for me are Soroban and SafeSend 1 for what it's worth. But I haven't picked either one of those yet. Eden, when you create the project for clients for the new tax year, I will be doing that once I get the engagement letters this year. Once they're confirmed, I'm assuming in November. Yep, since you have year-end planning, of course. Do you set it up for everyone and then delete or close them if they don't use them that year? Yes. If I set it up and they have a change of heart, I have an NLC, no longer client tag. I will tag that project with NLC. I'll tag the project or the client with NLC, and then I'll close the project. All right, I am getting the wrap up. I would love to sit and talk about this all day long, but I hope you have found this helpful and taken away, again, at least a nugget of something that you can go and help make your firm better. Check out the template library for my template and a bunch of other helpful templates. And I hope and check out the Financial Sense booth at WorkflowCon 2025. Hope you enjoyed the rest of your conference. I've had a great time. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the conference.